climate scientists at NASA's Goddard Institute of Space Studies, or GISS, just released a new analysis of global average temperatures, showing that 2009 was tied as the second warmest year ever recorded. And looking just at the southern hemisphere, 2009 even broke the record as the warmest year ever in this half of the world. In fact, 2009 was virtually tied with 5 other recent years in its position as second warmest on record: 1998, 2002, 2003, 2006, and 2007. And it was only a fraction of a percent cooler than the warmest year, 2005. Yet when looking at global temperatures over a longer time frame, these scientists found a persistent warming trend over the past 3 decades, with the average global temperature increasing by roughly 1/3 of a degree Fahrenheit per decade. This past decade, from 2000 to 2009, was the warmest yet. And when looking back all the way to 1880, the year when precise temperature record-keeping began, scientists observed about a 1.5 degree Fahrenheit rise in global temperature.
There are already beginning to be effects of 1 or 2 degrees warming, and if we get 5 or 10 degrees warming several decades downstream, there will be huge effects.
Well, 2010 was one of the 3 warmest years on record, according to the World Meteorology Organization. The UN body says average temperatures last year were at least ½ a degree Celsius higher than the average up until 1990. Imogen Folks was at the briefing in Geneva.
Europe shivers under ice and snow, but last month's freezing temperatures don't change the overall trend. Year by year, the Earth is getting warmer.
2010 is among the top 3, actually is the warmest year. The latest decade is the warmest decade.
What's more, global warming doesn't simply mean higher temperatures. Climate experts predict warmer weather will mean more extreme weather too, and 2010 certainly saw plenty of that. Devastating floods in Pakistan, 20 million people affected, or the intense heat wave and forest fires in Russia, 1/3 of the country's crop ruined. So today's figures showing that 2010 was our hottest year ever should, the World Meteorological Organization claims, lay to rest any remaining doubts about the existence of global warming.
It is official, 2012 was the hottest year in the United States since weather scientists started keeping records, and hotter not by a little but by a landslide. Tonight, ABC's Dan Harris tells us about this new report and the red flags of warning about extreme heat all across the globe.
Well, man, this is the last you'll see of your shed.
The pictures coming out of Australia tonight are apocalyptic. Flames devouring homes, huge black and brown blossoms of smoke, a lone kangaroo hopping through a charred moonscape, firefighters contending with the worst possible conditions.
These swirling, vicious winds, these soaring temperatures.
These incredible winds are making it that much tougher for firefighters on the front line.
It's so hot the government had to change its forecast maps, adding new shades of purple for temperatures possibly hitting 130 degrees. Scenes like this are becoming more common. Look at this NASA imagery showing the entire planet has gotten hotter in recent decades. Here in America, 2012 was not only the warmest year on record, but also the second most extreme, featuring tornadoes, wildfires, a massive drought, and of course, Superstorm Sandy.
The house was there, and the water pushed it all the way over here.
Many cities had record warmth, including Washington, D.C., where a lack of action on man-made climate change is likely to mean 2012 is just a glimpse into an unpleasant future, according to many scientists.
So we shouldn't expect this is the last record.
This is by no means the last record. I mean, you really got to think of climate change as something that increases our risks for being unlucky. So we need to prepare up front as we move into, this warmer, hotter, more extreme world.
And finally, not that we didn't know, but a report seals it, the world is getting warmer. According to an annual State of the Climate report, which observes weather events and scientific data collected over the year, 2013 was one of the top 10 hottest years on record, observing historic highs in greenhouse gas emissions, rise in sea surface temperatures, and ice melts in both the Arctic and the Antarctic. Australia experienced its warmest year on record, followed by Argentina and New Zealand, which had their second and third warmest, respectively.
"2014 was the hottest year on record. The finding was announced today in a new report from NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies in New York. Each year, the Institute produces a global temperature analysis using readings from weather stations around the world. The map seen here shows long-term changes in Earth's temperature compared to a 30-year baseline. Red, orange, and yellow are warmer areas. Blue is colder. Since temperature records began in 1880, the global average has increased by 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
And that might not seem very much, but in terms of the climate, it's actually quite a big deal.
"2015 was by far the warmest year on record since reliable global record-keeping began in 1880, climate experts in the U.S. and the U.K. announced Wednesday. According to NASA, the UK's Met Office, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the average temperature across the globe in 2015 was 1.62 degrees Fahrenheit above the 20th century average. That surpassed the previous record by 0.29 degrees set in 2014, and that marked the fourth time a global temperature record has been set this century. In fact, 15 of the 16 warmest years on record have occurred since 2001, NASA scientists say. And officials predict the average global temperature will rise once again to record levels in 2016, thanks in part to El Nino. An El Nino current, which was in effect for most of 2015, occurs periodically when sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific Ocean warm up. By the climate experts' scientific reckoning, the thermostat of Earth is inexorably warming in response to rising concentrations of carbon dioxide, methane, and soot, and to land use changes.
Hey everyone, my name is Derek and I'm concerned about climate change. And I don't know if you noticed, but climate change is here. Thanks to human-caused global warming, not only are we breaking temperature records, we're doing record-breaking. Here's what I mean. 2015 was the hottest year on record, but it was the hottest year by the widest margin on record. March 2016 was the highest monthly temperature departure among all 1,635 months on record. And the 9 highest monthly temperature departures have all occurred in the past 9 months. So with all of this record-breaking, 2016 is expected to smash 2015's records. And the effects of this rapidly rising heat are devastating. Coral reefs like Australia's Great Barrier Reef are dying. Cities in the north are being destroyed as wildfires burn out of control. Arctic sea ice is at dangerously low levels. Climate change is here, and it's speeding up. So what do we do about it? Well, the one thing we can't do is wait. Under the recently negotiated Paris Agreement, politicians of the world committed to take action to keep global warming from raising global temperatures 1.5 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial levels. But at the rate at which we're currently burning fossil fuels, we'll have put enough carbon in the air to bust that limit before the first scheduled check-in in 5 years. Clearly, we need to raise the temperature for politicians on this issue. But if we sit around and wait for them to get the message, then we're toast.